The blur of Hatsune Miku's face. A Shelby GT500 burning down the strip. The speed trap flashing at 220 some miles an hour. I almost forget where I am. It's like I'm at one giant virtual car convention. But that was then. Colorado, France and Italy, Australia, Britain. This is Horizon Mexico, the largest anime convention ever hosted on Xbox. And yet, somewhere behind that pinup girl of the meme era, is a weeaboo who loves cars. Isn't that why we're all here? The Horizon Festival succeeds in doing the impossible. It considers all the vague reasons people love cars, and brings them together for some car Olympics. No gatekeeping about liking the right cars or the right kind of racing. All you need is an appreciation for car culture, and an interest in generating momentum in your tin can of choice, provided it has 3 to 6 wheels. Forza Horizon occupies the space somewhere between Forza Motorsport Simulation and Need for Speed's arcade racing. You can choose from which perspective you want to race, how many technological assists you'd like to have. You can make your AI bumbling tourists who don't understand where Google Maps is telling them to turn, let alone where the apex is. Or your AI can be a pantheon of unbeatable racing gods, who, as we've read in the ancient epics, are really more or less still beatable, depending on your current state of demigodliness and associated blessings. The entire game is online, but you can play solo anytime against AI with I that is still very A. AI often behave as though they have a secret PI boost. In the rear view of first place, without fail, is a suspiciously fast AI, scrambling to attach his tow hook to your rear and be dragged into podium. The AI rubber band to each other, and to the fastest human player in an often frustrating and aptly artificial way. In off-road racing, the AI seem to not struggle with grip at all, even in stock tires against real players with fully rally-tuned vehicles. In addition to these gods of grip, the okay selection of off-road races and car types aren't going to render Dirt 5 or Dirt Rally 2.0 irrelevant anytime soon. When you've had enough of the AI's antics and would like to leave heaven for hell, you can instead enjoy playing with mortal flesh and a variety of online cooperative and competitive game types. For Horizon veterans, there are all the usuals in Horizon Open, but they also introduced a PvE mode called Horizon Tour. Now, in the absence of human players to compete against, players will instead try to run their own teammates off the road. The AI may be your enemy, but so are other players. Trust no one. Online modes continue to suffer from problems that have gone unaddressed for numerous titles. All-wheel drive swap meta, wall riding, and the aforementioned renegade teammates. These quote-unquote problems are in and of themselves not always bad. They can be elements of an experience or even just fun casual gaming. But they're the things that separate the casual car fans from the experienced pro dogs. It doesn't feel like much of a race when you're breaking into the apex of a corner and blazing up in your rearview mirror is the tire smoke of Kush King and your girl, driving an Audi doped up on horsepower, sliding into a race barrier for physics-free course correction, and, in his ghosted state, he takes a hit of turbo and then rips right past you. Most damaging of these problems might be the all-wheel drive swap meta. The PI difference between a non-all-wheel drive and all-wheel drive is clearly much wider than the game calculates, based on the way the roads treat the two different drivetrains, which seems to have encouraged most players concerned with being competitive to sterilize every car with a drivetrain swap for a quick and dirty performance boost. The all-wheel drive swap is not an easy win button. I've given the people what for in my front-wheel drive Ford Fiesta or my rear-wheel drive Mercedes GTR. But it throws a lot of car personality and realism out the window in a way that begs the question, why not just remove traction altogether? Perhaps this all-wheel drive swap dilemma stems from the arcane tune menus, which have very limited search functions. You can't search by tire compound, suspension, drivetrain, or body kit. The menu is quite antiquated, having not gained these features now for 5 games. And you still can't search specifically for off-road tunes, despite half the races being off the road. Liveries have archaic tags that have largely not been expanded or changed since the dawn of Horizon. Every other livery is a solid color, but there's bafflingly, to this day, no solid color search tag or filter. But the complex tuning possibilities and endless liveries provide myriad ways you can express yourself or exaggerate your car's personality, stunted only by the limited exterior and non-existent interior aesthetic options. Despite a vigorous street racing scene, you can't quite go full Need for Speed, with a lack of big stereos and limited kit options. Maybe someday. Even if there's no luck on the fuzzy dice, every car feels unique to its tuning setup. It's so easy to just plop down in the cockpit view and pretend you're driving the real thing. I can almost feel the actual rattle of a warm leather wheel nestled between my thumbs. Cross-country is as chaotic as ever, not always flowing with the contours of the landscape, causing for some awkward bumps and turns. Sometimes you're driving across someone's front lawn, other times you're on a thrilling trek through the jungle. Sailing through misty mornings, foggy nights, and street races feels appropriately clandestine, even if street racing is apparently legal and sanctioned by the festival now. Weird choice. Dirt races have different surface types that don't make as much a difference as they would in a dirt game, but there are heavily cambered roads, water splashes, and crests that feel absolutely fantastic, barreling through in your favorite off-road vehicles. But many of the tracks are about 33% tarmac, often causing me to forget if I'm in a dirt race and sort of ruining the whole mood I'm trying to have. Road races are obviously where this game shines, considering it's a derivative of motorsport. There is technical stuff, though it would be fun to experiment with steeper hills and more extreme camber someday. And if the roads in the overworld you love to drive aren't quite strung together in a way you want, you can find an event lab created by another player. If you want to create one yourself, you can try, but there's no way to edit it once it's saved, and you can't test drive it until it's saved. You'll have to make your race perfectly the first time through, and even if you think you've made it perfectly, sometimes the starting line will spawn incorrectly, and there's no guarantee the race you made will even work properly, and you can't go back and edit it, so fuck you. That being said, when event labs do work right, it aids the game in not becoming monotonous, repetitive racing challenges, as do showcases with their fantastical scenarios like those you'd see on Top Gear, expeditions to discover what each region of the map has to offer, stories to offer a little Mexican culture and adventure, daily, weekly, and monthly challenges, rivaling lap times, PR stunts, and 5 distinct Horizon arcades. The game gives you opportunities to challenge yourself, encourages you to try new cars, and create content for the community. However you want to earn your money, XP, and Forzathon points is entirely up to you. The map of Mexico with its different biomes also lends to diversity in activities. Traveling north from the Central Festival, you can take a stance toboggan down the side of an undecidedly inactive volcano. West, you can melt tires in the hot tarmac stew of Baja California. Fly south through Monkey Nightmare mangroves, and if you can make it far enough east past farmlands that are frankly indistinguishable from the past 3 Horizon games, you'll reach a small slice of paradise. As I said in my Need for Speed Heat video, Forza Horizon has always focused on the natural aspects of their locations. But still, after 5 installments, I was really hoping for more buildings. Towns and cities feel like their own biomes too, and add culture and style that contrasts the natural elements and adds complexity to the map. The city, Guanajuato, was much larger than cities in previous Horizon games, but because it's just a bunch of randomly colored squares, very pretty, randomly colored squares, it's a bit disorienting, and ends up feeling similarly small to previous games. Not to mention, the nighttime only seems to last for about 5 minutes, so there's sadly limited city night cruising. With all the other features the game has, I feel it'll be a long time before its cities are as in-depth and beautiful as Grand Theft Auto or Watch Dogs game. But still, it's basically the same as it's ever been, and that's a little disappointing. But hey, baby steps are better than backpedaling. The game has a generalist approach to racing, and doesn't specialize in any specific form of racing except fun. But at the end of the day, Forza Horizon is what you make of it. If If you want to drive cars stock, go for it. If you want to make Franken cars, just get some life insurance. You can ignore every drift zone or only play playground games if that's what's fun for you. Horizon is about having fun, embracing the spirit of adventure, and loving cars. So I encourage anyone with a passing interest in cars or anime to give it a spin.